Alright, welcome back to Nick Lenz's Comic Corner, Classic Less Non-Classics. This is episode number 1814 and Doubleshot number 1708. Now I have pretty much the first two trades that collect the first 15 issues of Daredevil Volume 2. These issues were released from 1998 to 2000. Always around that period of time. First up is somewhat of a controversial story arc. Yes, but this basically relaunched Daredevil in 1998 because of what happened in the other book, which I will discuss. I'll discuss in the future. Don't worry, I will discuss it in a future comic corner, so don't worry about that. We have Daredevil, Guardian Devil. And this is actually the only story arc that Kevin Smith ever wrote for the series. We have artwork by a guy who just left Marvel Comics just recently, Joe Quesada. And my friend Timmy probably was like, yippee! Maybe we'll finally retcon that stupid story one more day, because he's gone now. Who the heck frickin' knows? The inking for this book is done by a guy who doesn't ink anymore, Jimmy Palmiotti. Yes, the story I heard, the reason why that he basically was come on. You see, Jim Palmiotti and Joe Quesada worked for a company called Event Comics, and they were working together on the book. And they basically did the opening story for this book. And Jim Palmiotti stayed the inker even after Kevin Smith left. My guess is the reason why Kevin Smith left after this opening story, which was 8 issues. Like his first arc he did for Green Arrow, which, by the way, he did 2 story arcs that one. This one he did one story arc for Daredevil. And I believe that was it. Because I don't think he did anything else for Daredevil. Let's see. Because the guy is a good writer. I love the guy's work. But it's kind of weird, though. Now, here's what he's written for Marvel Comics, which this book collects one of the stuff here. There is this book here. There is Spider-Man says Black Cat in Eo Men Do. There is A Moment of Silence of One Shot. Heroes. The first issue miniseries got Daredevil / Bullseye Target. Which, by the way, they never released any more issues after the first issue for this one. So with this, I have pretty much reviewed most of... This is only the second ever book I've reviewed by Kevin Smith for Marvel. For DC, I have only reviewed just like a few books for him. Batman Kalati, Winding Gird, Death Comics 1000. And that is it, per se. I have not reviewed his Green Arrow. I read it. It's really good. But, yeah. It's like basically when we think of the stuff he does for comics, it's not much. And this is like the only book he worked on at Marvel. Because everything else is basically like a couple, like one was a one-shot, and the other was like a one-page story for a comic. So with this, I'm pretty much done with Kevin Smith's time at Marvel. Because you probably think, okay, then what about his Daredevil / Bullseye, the Target miniseries? It wasn't finished. So I'm definitely saying, with this, I am done with Kevin Smith's time at Marvel because not very much. Now, relaunch in 1998 due to the fact the book was not selling too well and what happened in the last 5 issues, which I will discuss in a future video. Now, this arc here, this is also the storyline where Kevin Smith decided to kill off Karen Page, Daredevil's longtime love interest from the 60s. I do not know why he decided to kill her off in this storyline, but he did. Oh, by the way, guess who murdered her? Bullseye. Yep. Also, Cameron Page has got a baby in the storyline. And here's the weird thing. Isn't particularly revealed. Now, there is a plot thread here about this baby, like, oh, Daredevil thinks basically he's the Antichrist. Nope, not really. Just a child of Karen Page. By the way, he names baby Karen. And here's something kind of odd about this. Oh, where, like, right after this story arc wraps up, and this is kind of weird, like, right after this, the baby is never seen again. I'm not kidding about that. The baby never appears. Ever again. Yeah, the baby Karen, who they created and basically lives up so well in this story arc. And it's never, well, it does pop up in a one-shot for this one. So apparently, it did pop up in Daredevil Ninja, the Target, and Daredevil 65, which was probably just a photo. Yeah, it was actually just a flashback. So, but what about Daredevil Bullseye Target? Flashback. What about Daredevil Ninja? Does she physically appear in this book? A cameo. But that's it. Yeah, seriously. They do practically nothing with this storyline related to her. This storyline even involves, get this, Daredevil fighting another Spider-Man villain. You might be thinking, which one, you might ask? It's somebody he only fought once in his entire history, as far as I could tell. Because he never fought him after this one, as far as I could tell. He takes on Mysterio. Yes, Mysterio. And you're thinking, really? Mysterio? Yes, I am not kidding about that. He takes on Mysterio. And right after this story arc, Quentin Beck, that's the one who's in the storyline, he dies. Yeah, he dies. And he comes back in Phantom of Spider-Man as a zombie. Yes. It's something Peter David did in the book, which is kind of weird. Now, for Kevin Smith stuff he's basically known for doing, this is by far a very odd story arc per se. And whatever, yeah, in case you're curious though, does this book really set up anything related to this long volume, this 119 issue volume? No, it was just basically a story arc to get the book going. That's really the whole point of this. It's a very interesting story arc. I think Joe Quesada himself does good artwork in this story arc. And Jim Thomas' inking is really good. I would probably say the stuff I reviewed from Kevin Smith, usually I've really enjoyed his stuff he's done. But I would probably say this is one of his more weaker books he's done. That's just my opinion anyways. It's just a weird story arc per se. That's just my opinion. I'm going to give this opening story arc for Daredevil Volume 2, Guardian Devil, I want to be nice to the book because I'm fan Kevin Smith's work. I'll give it 9 out of 10. Alright. Next up is basically the very next trade. Daredevil, Parts of a Whole. One of two story arcs done by David Mack. And you're thinking, that name kind of sounds familiar. Doesn't he write novels? Yes, he does. He writes Star Trek novels. Yes, he wrote the Star Trek SCE books. And I really enjoy reading those. Those are really good. Well, it was like a small engineering ship where the first couple books basically had Jordan LaForge as the acting chief before he backed the Enterprise E. And the original captain was a Jewish guy who's got like so many grandchildren, and he retired as captain because he lost a hand. No, seriously. And he also named his first officer a new captain of the ship. And I believe the ship has also been damaged several times over the course of the whole book series. It only lasts about 8-10 books. Really fun series. I love reading it. You're probably thinking, why didn't you review it? I didn't think of reviewing it at the time because I wasn't reviewing the books at that point. I think I read these books like over a decade ago. Now, Parts of a Whole is noteworthy for one thing and one thing only for the story arc, is that it's the debut of Echo, Maya Lopez. Yep, this is her debut story arc. And yeah, she kind of starts dating Matt Murdock in the storyline. And Matt Murdock also runs into Black Widow in the story arc, because of course he does. Look, okay, I have no idea who thought a guy to hook up Daredevil with Black Widow of all people. Yes, it seems like an odd pairing from my perspective, but I would probably say the one writer who made it work was Jerry Conway, because they kind of revisited this in the 90s, where Daredevil was obsessed with Black Widow, because she's hot. Yep. And at one point in this story arc, He takes Maya on a date to a campus of mall rats. And at one point of fighting, her shirt she wears in the cover actually turns to the point where her shirt could almost fall off and show off her breast. Yep. And Maya Lopez herself, her backstory is not really explored in this book. It just introduced to her. She does debut as a villain per se, who kind of becomes basically a love interest for Daredevil, who's involved here in this very first story arc per se. But the thing is, this book here is 9 is definitely her debut. Yep, it is definitely her debut, and mostly put she's connected to the Kingpin. Yep, the Kingpin of crime. Mm-hmm. And she basically, and I'm not sure why Dave Mack created this way, and this is still kind of just very day. Maya Lopez is deaf, and it takes her a while to notice the fact that the man she was fighting halfway through the story arc is in fact her boyfriend Matt Murdock. No, seriously, and it's done really well in here. I don't want to spoil it too much because this is just a damn good story arc. That is my honest opinion, anyways. And I definitely say this book basically is definitely worth a read. Weird enough, basically her next actual appearance is in another David Mack story arc. Yes. She hasn't returned until Story Host Echo. If she's 51, 55. I might explore or talk about this trade in the future, but it's kind of weird though. Like, she debuts for this really long story arc that's roughly 7 issues, and she appears for a 5-parter. Now, I viewed a lot of the stuff she's appeared in after this. I viewed her in New Avengers, World War Hulk. Of course, My Avengers. I reviewed practically a lot of the stuff she's appeared in. One book I have not reviewed her in is Avengers/Invaders. That's one book I've definitely not reviewed in, but pretty much everything else she's appeared in, mostly Indigenous Voices, I've not reviewed that one yet. I'd say a few books per se, but a lot of the stuff that's come out after basically that second story arc for her, I have reviewed like almost everything she's been in. Now, you might be thinking, is she... Now, this story arc, it's just my honest opinion anyways, it's just really good. It's a storyline that's well worth the read, and I definitely do recommend it for people fans of Daredevil. And also, if you're curious about the Echo TV show that's coming out, yeah, she is getting a TV show, believe it or not. Oh, yes, she is. And you're thinking, really? Echo is getting a TV show? Yep, she is. Yeah. Apparently, it's supposed to release next year, and they do keep the credit of Dave McJoke creating her. And this character first showed up on the Hawkeye show, which is kind of interesting. She hopped there first, and she apparently appears in that show too, which is interesting to say the least. Now you might be thinking, why would Maya Lopez show up on Hawkeye of all places? Well, the reason why is pure and simple. The reason is because Clint Barton slept with her in the new Avengers book. And because basically at one point he was Ronin in the comic books like it was in the movies. Yeah, that's the only reason why I think of it, why she popped up there. I haven't seen the Hawkeye Netflix show, the Disney Plus show yet. I probably will in the future because I kind of have a way to watch it. But what rating do I give this particular story arc for Daredevil? Parts of a whole? I'm going to give this book a 9.5 out of 10. It's just really good. Yes. I definitely say it's definitely a step up from the Kevin Smith stuff. Definitely. If you want a good starting point for this volume, would I recommend this as a good starting point for volume 2? Yes, but I would also recommend reading the first 8 issues just so you're not confused about numbering. Because basically Guardian Devil is the start of the story arc, if you want to start there, start there. If you want to start with this arc, go right ahead. It's up to you. Me personally, what would I recommend starting with Guardian Devil? It's up to you. Yep. But yeah, that's it for this particular review. Next one is going to be not Super Sentai. Actually, it is going to be Super Sentai. That'll be next. And then I'm going to do The Rising of the Shield Hero. Okay, next video. Bye.